not have a quorum yet. We're going to start with House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1870. Representative Roberts, you can come forward when you're ready, you may start. Just a reminder, for those of you that are going to testify, be sure and fill out a witness sheet and leave it on the table. And you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Lane Roberts, House District 161, here to present House Bill 1870. The companion bill for this is Senate Bill 835. Both bills are fairly comprehensive, so in the interest of brevity, I'm going to stick as closely as I can to my prepared remarks, and then I can answer questions if necessary. House Bill 1870 updates and modernizes Missouri's laws governing execution, garnishment, and related debtor exemptions to improve clarity, fairness, and efficiency in civil judgment enforcement. The bill is the House companion Senate Bill 835, sponsored by Senator Crawford, which this committee approved 5-0 and the Senate passed 32-0 on February 19th. House Bill 1870 reflects negotiated changes after Senate Bill 835 was perfected in the Senate, and the brief overview is as follows. The bill clarifies procedures for debtor examinations, including timing and protections for compelled testimony. It ensures exemption amounts keep pace with inflation through periodic CPI-based adjustments rather than relying on static statutory figures. The bill expands personal property protections by increasing exemption amounts and broadening covered assets with future inflation indexing. It strengthens homestead protections by increasing and indexing the exemptions for primary residents to reflect modern home values. It clarifies bank account garnishment procedures by establishing clear timing rules tied to banking operations and the safeguarding exempt deposits. The difference between House Bill 1870 and Senate Bill 835 are in sections 5.525.235. In subsection 4, line 22, House Bill 1870 clarifies that garnishment applies to accounts belonging to a judgment debtor rather than accounts identified in the order of garnishment. The language in 1870 recognizes that orders do not list specific account numbers, which is why that change was needed. In subsection 5, line 29, adds the word businesses, so it's business days instead of just 2 days. And finally, there's a new subsection 11, which establishes a good faith safe harbor for guarantees protecting financial institutions from liability when acting in compliance with a court order, while also outlining how errors are to be addressed. With that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to take questions.
I might make a comment. This is just for the committee's reference, this is the bill that I filed and teamed up with Senator Washington on, and we did find, we had to make a couple tweaks in the House. We found out after it passed out of the Senate, and so the representative has done that. I'm supportive of his changes as well. And do we have any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. First up in favor of House Bill 1870, please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, David Kent, registered lobbyist for the Missouri Bankers Association. I want to thank Representative Roberts for filing this bill, also Senator Crawford for filing the companion bill. Representative Roberts laid out the groundwork for the intent of the bill, as well as a number of the changes that were made between the House version and the Senate version. My understanding is, Senator, is that Senate Bill 835 will be amended to mirror what 1870 is currently. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for this witness? And yes, I agree. We are going to mirror mine to match this one. Seeing no questions?
Thank you.
Next up in favor of House Bill 1870.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, David McCracken here on behalf of the Missouri Creditors Bar. They are a lovely group of debt collection attorneys. We spent a long time in the fall working with Mr. Kent and the bankers on this. We're 99% good with it. If you guys picked it up and passed it as it is today, we'd be okay. There's one little change I mentioned in the House. I don't think it's even worth mentioning because I don't think it's going to happen. But that's my testimony, and I think we came up with a good consensus bill.
Questions for this witness? Hearing none. Next up in favor of House Bill 1870. Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in opposition to House Bill 1870?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. My name is Arne C. AC Dinos, State Public Advocate. I submitted my online testimony on the Senate portal. Did you receive it? Okay, it's on there. I did it 2 days ago. I've testified against these bills both in the House and the Senate. I like raising the thresholds, but, you know, at the end of the line, somebody's going to lose their home, even with the raised thresholds. This HCS HB1870, the new amounts amount to legislative eye candy. And if you read and do a deep dive into the legislation, it favors debt collectors, banks, and their attorneys. And so I feel that this legislation could lead to bad faith, could lead to fraud, could lead to be taking somebody's home, their homestead, for a debt that they owe. There's just too many ramifications and too many issues, reading between the lines, defining and dissecting everything. There's a few words on there that mean a great meaning, and it brings millions, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to special interest. And so therefore, I am not in favor of these bills. They sound good on the forefront with the eye candy, but when you dive deep into the details, it's not for the benefit of the consumer, but it's benefit of the banks. And so therefore, I'm not in favor of this 7870. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next up in opposition to House Bill 1870. Seeing none. Anyone here for informational purposes only for House Bill 1870? Seeing none. Representative, do you have any final comments? Hearing no comments, this will conclude the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1870. Next up, we will hear Representative Voss, and that will be House Bill 2473. Representative, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. My name is John Voss. I represent District 147, the City of Cape Girardeau. I'm here to present House Bill 2473 dealing with real estate brokerage accounts. Today, a broker may commingle up to $1,000 of their personal funds in an account that they hold on behalf of other people. And that's intended to be able to cover some banking charges and those types of things. What this bill would do would expand to allow a broker to keep in that fund interest that is accumulated in that fund if it exceeds $1,000, as long as they withdraw those monies or transfer those monies out within 30 days of that interest being accrued. And so this was brought to me by a constituent who's been quite successful, is concerned that he's technically in violation of the law, would have to separate accounts, and that's not really a smart business play. And so we're just looking to add the ability to withdraw those interest funds within the 30 days. Be happy to take any questions.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Hearing none. First up in favor of House Bill 2473. Arnie, we just took a vote and we think you need to sit in the front.
Hey, I wish they would separate the chairs a little bit to, make it easier. Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. My name is Arne C. AC Dinos, State Public Advocate, and I favored this, and I testified in favor in the House. I'm trying to see the date that it was in the House, the public hearing. I think it was in financial institutions on 1/8, and I testified in favor. This is an accounting measure. It makes a lot of logistic sense, and it's clear and cut and dry. In my opinion, this is a no-brainer piece of legislation, and it's an accounting that makes it fair and transparent and open. And so I highly support HB 2473. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor of House Bill 2473. Seeing none, anyone here to testify in opposition to House Bill 2473? Seeing none, anyone here for informational purposes only for House Bill 2473? Seeing none, Representative, any final comments?
I'd appreciate your consideration on this bill. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. This will conclude the hearing on House Bill 2473. And next up will be Senator Brattin, Senate Bill 1263. Senator, when you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Senator Rick Brattin, 31st Senate District, bringing forth Senate Bill 1263 before your committee. Thank you for the hearing. The bill will be termed Colton's Law, but basically what this does, it ensures that insurers would provide coverage for PANS and PANDAS diagnosis and treatment of that diagnosis for kids that have received this unfortunate diagnosis. Currently, 15 states have adopted this very policy. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that insurers are interjecting in between the doctor-patient treatment plan and denying the coverage necessary to be able to hit the treatment plan right where it needs to, right at the very beginning stages of diagnosis, to help to where these kids are able to have meaningful and productive lives without unnecessary and undue burdens. And that's exactly what this would do. We have ample testimony here, and I don't want to belabor the point because I know we only have a short amount of time. I would love to go into detail, but I would rather have you hear the parents. We have a medical doctor that not only is a doctor in this sort of treatment, but his children have also been diagnosed as well, and just the terrible situations that these parents have to deal with on top of having to make sure their kids are treated. It's just terrible. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I would ask just please give these parents and people as much time as possible. So thank you so much.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, thank you for that. Let me get an idea of how many people are here to testify in favor of the bill and how many against. Okay, just keep in mind that we have 40 minutes, and so if you'll I want to hear from everybody. Be sure and keep your testimony succinct and to the point, and try not to repeat what the other people have said. At some point, we'll just start with those in favor. So if the first person in favor of Senate Bill 1263 will come forward at this time, we may have to limit time as we move on to try to hit the 1 o'clock deadline, but we're hoping to hear from everybody. And just as a reminder, don't forget to fill out a witness form and leave it on the desk. Sit down.
Hi, I'm Annie Stile. I am Colton Stile's mom, and that is, I am the one who started the bill, and it's named after Colton for Colton's Law. I knew I would forget the key points, so I am going to rephrase this. I wish I could remember it and look you guys in the face. Thank you for taking the time and allowing us to share the realities of our families, what our families are facing. PANS and PANDAS is often triggered by an infection. PANS occurs when a susceptible child makes antibodies that mistakenly attack his or her own brain. This can look like overwhelming OCD, eating restrictions, panic or rage attacks, regression to a younger age, inattentiveness and impulsiveness, bedwetting, insomnia, tics, handwriting deterioration, seizures, and even the inability to walk or communicate. It is called PANDAS when it follows strep, but cases have also been seen after COVID and other infections. Early diagnosis and treatment are critical for this disease and can significantly change outcomes for these children. My son is Colton, and that is why I'm calling SB1263 Colton's Law. Before he got PANDAS, my sweet boy was happy, goofy, and smiled all the time. He loved to protect his sister
and being a big brother. He cared for everyone around him and was so loving. He was just a little boy full of energy and smiles. He enjoyed going to school and being around other kids. He thrived on making others laugh and feel loved, had passions for doing things and trying different activities and sports. He did great in school and always wanted to try his best. Then his whole life was ruined by this disease. Colton got strep when he was 7. And within 2 weeks, he had a sudden onset of neuropsychiatric symptoms. It took over a year to get him diagnosed correctly. During that time, his condition worsened. He has developed severe OCD, rage, tics, dilated pupils. Eventually, his symptoms escalated to the point where he could no longer control his body. He was constantly in motion, spent hours in the bathroom due to severe urinary issues, and experienced intense aggression and anger in any setting. He also lost his ability to read and write. He keeps me awake at night because he can't sleep. He's terrified he will be killed in the middle of the night. He is also terrified that I might die at night, so he has to say repeatedly, "See you in the morning," to know he will see me. Even then, he wakes up and runs to my room to check and make sure I'm alive. He hallucinates and sees demons in every corner. He now requires an IEP and a 504 plan. Imagine your child's personality completely shifting overnight, as if something has taken over and you can still see a glimpse of the child you've always known beneath it. I have fought to get him IVIG, the treatment he needs, and have been denied time after time. I'm told it isn't medically necessary by the insurance companies, but that contradicts what experts have already established in the JCAP guidelines for PANDAS, developed by a consortium of doctors at Stanford University. This condition is treatable. These children change rapidly, thriving 1 week and debilitated by neuropsychiatric symptoms the next. Early treatment is not just life-saving, it is cost-effective. Coverage prevents repeated ER visits, reduced school absences, lowers the need for special education, and decreases caregiving burdens, including parents having to leave the workplace. Clinicians across the country in major medical institutions like Stanford, Hartford, UCLA, Dartmouth, Georgetown, and others support treatment, yet families struggle to access care due to insurance denials. This is why legislation like this matters. Aetna, one of the largest insurance providers in the country, just announced in January of this year that they will now cover all PANDAS-related treatment, showing that coverage is feasible and essential. He is now 11 years old and facing even more challenges. He says he wants to go to sleep and not wake up. Depression and suicide are high risk for these kids. He wakes up in the middle of the night and falls out of bed because he can't move his legs. Inflammation and juvenile arthritis are also part of this condition. Colton misses school because he has headaches that are so severe he can't even move his head due to brain inflammation. He missed an entire season of BMX last year because his legs couldn't keep up. Early diagnosis, again, and treatment are so important. Instead, we are letting kids and families suffer when they don't have to. This is treatable. And we are being told we can't save our children. How is this possible? As a single mom, I have spent everything trying to get my son help. I have gone through my entire retirement account. I have no savings. I have no money. I have worked second jobs. We sold our house and now live in an apartment. In September of 2025, I lost my job because I have missed too many days due to his illness and doctor's appointments. It is my job as a mother to make my child be okay. Insurance is telling me I can't do that. So I feel like I'm failing. This has to stop. No parent should be told they cannot save their child because the treatment isn't covered by insurance and they can't afford the cost. No child should lose their childhood to a treatment or to a treatable condition. You can make that happen. You have to make that happen. This could be you. This could be your child, your grandchild, someone you love. We matter, our kids matter, our families matter. My daughter, Colton's sister, is 8 years old, and this is taken from her childhood as well. I have to put more attention on Colton when he is having a flare. She witnesses the roller coaster of emotions and battles right in front of her eyes. It affects all of us. The cost of this bill is minimal, less than a penny to the state. Other states that have passed this legislation have already proven the cost is negligible. I can't talk.
Negligent?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
While the savings are significant, without treatment, you are looking at children needing special education, in-home hospital schooling, and parents leaving work or relying on unemployment for long-term care. Time is of the essence. Studies show that barriers to treatment are associated with persistent symptoms. With treatment, 77% of children recover completely. What is a child's life worth? Certainly more than the fraction of a penny this would cost the state of Missouri. This standard has already been established in 15 states where insurance coverage for PANDAS treatments is mandated. Missouri remains behind despite a clear proven model for implementing this life-saving policy. Let's make a difference for these families and for the quality of these children's lives. Why are we suffering when we don't have to? Thank you.
Questions of the witness? I do have just a quick question.
Yeah.
Just for reference, have you had the same insurance company the whole time through, and is that private insurance, or have you changed?
I've changed. So I've had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I have appealed with them, and United Healthcare, and I have appealed with them.
Okay, I was just curious
Yep.
if it was self-insurance or public or private or
Yep.
what, just to get an
And
idea.
it's
Thank you.
both of them have been through the workplace.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then I
Seeing-
am going to leave some stuff here down here for you in the states that have approved and,
Okay.
and all that information.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for your testimony.
And then Colton was going to go next and just say a little something.
Okay, he can go ahead.
Go ahead. You're fine. You know, just say whatever you want. Just real quick.
My name is Colton Style, and I've had PANDAS since I was 7, and I'm 11 now. And I really, Miss Crawford, want this to be passed because all of these kids are fighting, and they're I should have practiced last night.
It's all right. Just say one thing, and then we'll let other people go.
And I'm a potato.
Thank you for being here, Colton.
Thank you.
We're going to pause really quick and establish a quorum. Barb, would you please call the roll?
Senators Crawford,
Here.
Gregory, Brown, Huff, McCreary, Mosley, Trent.
We do have a quorum established. Thank you for that. Next up in favor of Senate Bill 1263, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Elisa Diekman. I'm a resident of Lake St. Louis, Missouri, and I have 3 kids. All my kids and myself are diagnosed, and we don't know it yet, but we will get there in 10 years from now and realize this happens to adults too. We just don't have a name for it, and most doctors don't even know about it. Counselors don't know about it. We're on the cutting edge of this, but it's not uncommon. It is very common. And my son, Gavin, is 11. My daughter, Madeline, is 10. And my youngest daughter, Gabrielle, who has it the worst, is 7. Some of my children have PANS and PANDAS, and I have all their medical records here for you guys to see if you want to see the diagnosis. Sorry, I have some notes on my phone here that I just wanted to share with. So one of the things in the beginning when I couldn't get the help that I needed and I was seeing these different children was I kept asking my husband, why does ibuprofen help their mental health? And that question wouldn't leave me alone. Why is ibuprofen moving the needle for them? And then after 4 to 6 hours, it would go back. And it's because it's brain inflammation. And so some of the, the number one thing we see in our family is rage from these children. It is terrible rage, anxiety, OCD, tics like throat clearing or motor movements, frequent urination, not eating at all, simply not eating, ADH-like behaviors. My 2 girls are unable to fall asleep and stay asleep. And so I have become, reluctantly, an advocate for my children and have fought years and years for them. And we have probably spent $20,000 in alternative health care trying to get these kids help because nobody would cover the things like IVIG that they needed to get the help that they needed. It has destroyed my marriage. It has destroyed my family, the trauma when you have kids full of rage. That's trauma. And now I just signed them up for equine therapy this summer. So I'm hoping that that really helps them to bond together and realize that we're a family. But we need to get these kids and adults adequate health care coverage to get the help that they need, because like she spoke about, it's there. We just can't reach it. And most people don't have the money. And so we're suffering and getting anxiety in children, rage. We just don't have the diagnosis because no one can afford it off-label. So I hope that this helps, and I'm just grateful for you guys meeting today. I'm grateful for Colton and his bravery to speak, and there will be a day when more people know about it, but today we hope you hear us. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor.
Hello, and thank you for your time. I'm Jared Whitman.
I'm Michaela.
If you'll speak into the microphone, please.
Hello, and
Thank you.
I'm Jared Whitman. I'm a family physician. I practice ER and hospital medicine at a critical access hospital in Appleton City, Missouri. My wife, Michaela, and I have been through the ringer, and first off, I just want to say to all these people back here, I'm listening to their stories, and we've been there, and you're going to hear more of the same. This is a repeatable scenario, and it is tragic.
Good afternoon. I'm Michaela Widman, mother of 6 kids, currently ages 14 to 26. Since 2011, 5 of our 6 kids developed neuroautoimmunity. 3 of those 5 had PANS, and the other 2 had the more severe version of this illness called autoimmune encephalomyelitis. It is those 2 I will be sharing about today. Our oldest son, Kai, was 12 and a half in December of 2011 when he had a sudden onset of neuropsychiatric symptoms. Over the next few weeks, he became delusional, volatile, increasingly unreasonable, obsessive, angry, and he had deeply dark thoughts, as in he didn't want to live anymore. He had an inability to do even the easiest of schoolwork and many, many more symptoms. We spent those 2.5 years intensely going the psych route with Kai, specifically medications, psychiatrists, psych hospitals, and counseling. Through it all, and especially by the end of it, Kai became way, way, way worse than before we had started psych. In fact, during one of the hospitalizations, one of the hospital staff called me to ask me what they should do with him because they couldn't handle him at the psych hospital. Additional health concerns developed for Kai during this 2.5 years. In addition to the now dozens of psychiatric symptoms he was also having dozens of serious physical symptoms, including extreme pallor, ashen color to his face, severe lethargy, sleep disruptions, a sort of neurological paralysis that could last up to 90 minutes, convulsions, times of superhuman strength, and times of cataplexy or even full body collapse. His face would swell at times, and he often had a reddish, purplish color under his eyes. He started to have mild seizure-like symptoms, as well as blood pressure drops, blood sugar swings, dizziness, and shakiness. He had insane and days-long reactions to sugar or anything that turned to sugar in his blood. His resting heart rate was always high, and sometimes his heart would pound so rapidly and so hard that it felt like it was trying to pound right out of his chest. The physical symptoms always came at the exact same time as the mental symptoms, which now included raging, suicide attempts, and many other things. This road for Kai and our family was dark, horrifying, torturous, terrifying, trauma-inducing, and all-consuming, not to mention indescribably expensive. His illness was impossible to figure out. It had so many complexities, triggers, cascades, and mental and physical manifestations. We tried many, many things to help him over the next 2.5 years outside of psych, and though he had ups and downs, overall, we made very little lasting gain. Then, in late winter of 2017, when Kai was 17 years old and still ill, our daughter Brielle, who was 9.5, got normal winter respiratory illness, followed by the flu a short time later, then followed by walking pneumonia. A few days later, our next nightmare began. March 7th, Brielle began having episodes of her eyes rolling into the back of her head, then repeated losses of consciousness and full body stiffness. We soon realized that the eye rolls were the tail end of a long spasm starting at her diaphragm, moving up through her larynx and out through her eyes. By March 16th, the spasms in her larynx, called laryngospasms, were so strong they were cutting off her airway. Essentially, her own larynx was strangling her for about 30 to 45 seconds out of every 90 seconds for hours at a time. You can't imagine the distress she was in. Of course, we took her to the hospital twice, but they didn't know what was wrong with her, so unbelievably, they sent her home. By late March, she was having horrible involuntary movements similar to convulsions, and her left foot started turning in when she walked, and then she started collapsing and losing consciousness again. We got her to a different hospital, and there, over the next 10 days in the PICU, she declined rapidly. She began having never-ending seizure cycles, 300 to 500 every single day. She had hallucinations and screamed blood-curdling screams. She had tachycardia, crazy and completely unnatural eye movements, and painful spasms in her toes, feet, legs, hands, and neck. She lost both voluntary and involuntary muscle abilities, plus her abilities to walk, speak, eat, and connect with the world in any way. Even if something stimulating happened to her, for example, if cold water accidentally fell on her feet, she had no awareness or reaction to it at all. In the occasional moments she could see us, she didn't know who we were anymore. Her eyes were far away, her cognition was zero, and at night her body refused to sleep. Though her body daily moved and seized constantly, by early April she had nothing functioning properly in her body except for her vital organs. The worst part was, no doctors could figure out what was wrong with her. In all, we endured 6 hospitalizations in 4 different hospitals over an 8-week period, but no one could tell us what was wrong with her. That is, until we met Dr. Michael Cooperstock from the University of Missouri-Columbia Women's and Children's Hospital. I'm now going to pass the mic to my husband, but to conclude, I want to say that I have a longer and more detailed versions of our kids' stories available in various forms if you would like them.
And we're going to have to speed this up a lot because we just have 20 minutes left. So just keep your comments, those coming after, for a minute or two, because we're not going to get finished if we don't.
Rapid fire.
One second. Go ahead.
Rapid fire. I'll address 5 questions. Why are we here? Because, as you've heard, children, families, and communities are suffering. Not only severe, but even catastrophic illness. Even death is a possibility in some of these cases. What is happening medically? PANS, PANDAS, and autoimmune encephalomyelitis are a result of dysfunctional immune systems and are categorized as autoimmune diseases. Antibodies that were once correctly produced by the immune system to fight pathogens and infections turn errantly, and instead of attacking pathogens, those same antibodies mistakenly view the patient's own flesh as the enemy and begin to attack the brain. This results in injury to the brain that ranges from inflammation to utter and devastating destruction. Having seen thousands of patients in pediatric patients in my career, 100% of those suffering from even early stage inflammation from PANS and PANDAS enter immediately into the category of the worst 5% of suffering of all pediatric patients. How do we eliminate this suffering? These patients need early detection and aggressive treatment. Antibiotics are the mainstay, but because the disease is aggressive, it's often not enough. These patients need support. They need treatments that support, supplement, and stifle their errant immune systems. These treatments include IVIG, plasmapheresis, and immunomodulating medications. Why are these treatments not being used to treat such catastrophic illness already? These treatments are available for other conditions. Why aren't they available to these patients? I have only one viable answer as a doc: profit. When I say profit, I'm not referring to profitability on the part of, I'm saying I'm referring to the profitability on the part of the insurance companies. Here's the axiom: if you don't have coverage, you don't get treatment. When medical conditions are not covered by insurance companies, doctors and hospitals are disincentivized to treat those conditions. Conversely, when coverage arises, doctors and hospitals are incentivized to treat, and treatment plans sprout in abundance. Thus, by design, coverage is a prerequisite to get adequate treatment for these conditions. What has become of our own 2 kids? Providentially, we were connected to Dr. Michael Cooperstock. They each received IVIG and plasmapheresis. That was a foundation for progress for both of them. Brielle also received immunomodulatory treatment. Through that, by God's grace and countless miracles, they're both 99% healed today. Kai is 26, having graduated from KU with a 4.0 in computer science and enjoying a career in computer engineering. Brielle is 18, graduating from high school and intending to attend Wichita State University to pursue a career in nursing next fall. We're proud to say that they're fighters, but we urge you to take action, support these suffering patients. This suffering can be alleviated with early recognition and aggressive treatment. Had treatment coverage existed when our kids were going through this, our family would have been saved from immense suffering and hardship. The opportunity exists to save other families from that. We urge you to do so. Thank you.
Questions for this witness, Senator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there a population of children that is more predisposed or more susceptible to this than other children?
Yeah. What do you?
There are some genetics that kind of cause a predisposition, but it is not necessarily consistent.
Yeah, it's.
Well, the only reason why I asked.
Also, exposures such as mold and other toxicities in the environment.
It's hard to limit it to a population as more as a genetic predisposition to it, with additional complicating factors that arise in life, exposures and that sort of thing.
Well, and the reason why I asked, I didn't know if there was any preventative things that, could be done to kids that are more susceptible to that,
Unfortunately, very limited options.
All right. What about like getting their tonsils out early if they're predisposed to it? I mean, would that help?
It is helpful.
Right.
Yes.
But I'm sure that boils down to insurance as well.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you for your testimony. Next up, if you'll please keep your comments to 2 minutes or less, we're going to have to limit it. I hate to do that, but we start session at 1 and it's now almost 10 till.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. I'm not here today just as an advocate, but I also am a physician and a parent of a patient or a child that's suffering from PANS. My husband and I are both physicians. I'm a geriatrician, so I take care of elderly patients, and I spend my days caring for patients with Parkinson's, stroke,
Let me
and dementia.
stop you 1 second. Could you state your name, please?
Oh, Sherry Bethman.
Thank you.
I apologize. I understand neurologic illness. I recognize cognitive decline. And yet nothing prepared me for what happened to my own child or for how difficult it would be to get him the care needed. Just before my son turned 10 years old, he was exposed to Epstein-Barr virus and a streptococcal infection. Almost overnight, I watched my healthy child disappear. He developed severe OCD, sleepwalking, enuresis, complex motor and verbal tics, profound depression. It was sudden, extreme, and it was terrifying, especially as a physician not being able to figure out what was going with your own child. Like many families, we were initially told this was psychiatric. We tried psychotropic medications, but instead of helping, they pushed him into crisis. He became suicidal and required inpatient hospitalization to keep him safe. He didn't improve, he worsened. I watched my 10-year-old lose the ability to perform basic activities of daily living. I had to start bathing him again. I had to dress him. I had to apply his deodorant. I had to brush his teeth. I had to sit across from him at the dinner table and encourage him to eat for hours on end because he wouldn't eat. I found myself caring for him the way I had when he was a toddler. As a physician, I recognized the severity, and as a mother, it was devastating. In my professional life, I care for patients with advanced neurologic disease, and I began to see those same symptoms: the cognitive decline, the loss of function, the personality changes in my 10-year-old son. That is something no parent should ever have to witness. We sought care locally, but his condition was minimized and labeled as such things as Tourette's syndrome. We knew something more was happening, so we kept searching across state lines to Oklahoma, and eventually we ended up in New York City, where he required another inpatient hospitalization just to finally receive the correct diagnosis. But that diagnosis came 2 years after his symptoms began. Even with 2 physician parents advocating for him, we faced delays, barriers, and lack of recognition. It should not be this hard to access appropriate care. Today, after 2 years of IVIG therapy, which occurs monthly for him, my son has made meaningful progress. He still has setbacks, and this is where I think the importance of early intervention is so important. I really think that if Oliver would have gotten treatment sooner, he wouldn't be struggling as much as he is today. I'm very grateful for the treatment that he has, but I do feel like early intervention would have been very helpful. Our story's not unique. Autoimmune encephalitis and related conditions are often misdiagnosed, frequently delayed in treatment, and financially devastating for families. Diagnostic testing is not always covered. Treatment, including immunotherapy, hospitalizations, and long-term rehabilitation is
And
expensive.
if you could please wrap it up.
Okay. So we have the knowledge, we have the tools, we now need policy to ensure patients can access care when it matters most. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Sorry for cutting you off. I just want to
That's
hear
okay.
from everybody.
Yes.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. How many more to testify in favor? Okay, you're just going to have a minute or two, and so I'm going to hold you to it. So,
Thank you. I'm going to be very quick. My name is Amy Jenkins. I'm a practicing acute care nurse practitioner in a St. Louis area hospital. My daughter Addison is 9 years old, and she has pandas. She says things every day like, I am nothing, I'm worthless, everybody hates me, why do I do this? I could tell you the story, but we've heard it already. My daughter is not any different from these other kids. I did just want to briefly tell you that so far since January 1st, my daughter was diagnosed 5 years ago, but since January 1st alone of this year, insurance, she's had over $110,495 in medical bills that were billed to insurance. That's just since January 1st of this year. We have spent upwards of almost $10,000 out of pocket just trying to get her the care that she needs. She needs IVIG. She's been to so many different specialists. They all agree she needs IVIG, but we cannot get it because despite the fact that I am a medical professional, I still cannot afford the $13,000 per dose that it would cost for my child to get this IVIG, and that's just one time. She would need it monthly. So I'm going to wrap that up just with that from the financial standpoint of it, so that other parents can talk.
thank you very much. Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next up in favor.
Thank you very much for the time today. My name is Sarah Hefner. This is my son, Calvin. Cal's 18. He got sick when he was 5, and we've been fighting for him since then. Cal started the same way. He had 7 bouts of strep back to back, and he just changed overnight. So he had tics, OCD, separation anxiety, brain fog, a lot of the other symptoms that you've heard, but honestly his case is very mild compared to some of the other parents, so we're very lucky. I just wanted to mention also before you hear from Calvin that we're very lucky that my husband and I have good jobs and we've been able to pay out of pocket. So fighting over 13 years I estimate has probably cost us upwards of $40,000 to be able to keep him healthy. He's still fighting. Every single day, we're watching for flares because we know that early treatment and early intervention as soon as possible is extremely important. The one thing we haven't been able to access for him is IVIG. And so we watch every flare to hope that it doesn't become worse and chronic and spiral out of control. Calvin's been really resilient over these 13 years, and he's doing a great job. I think you should hear from him.
My name is Calvin Hefner, and I'm 18 years old. I'll keep this really brief, but I'm not even going to read off this, but pandas really sucks. It does. I've had it for 13 years. I've lost a lot of friends. I don't play sports anymore. But IVIG would give me and kids like me a chance to lead a normal life. Like, I want to go to college for 4 years, but I take 27 pills a day, 3 times a day. And that's, on average, one of my bottles of pills is $357. So it's a lot of money. I'm going to have to take out a lot of student loans. So I please ask you guys to support this bill.
Thank you. That was probably more impactful than what you could have read anyway. Questions for the witnesses? Seeing none, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Next up in favor.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Crawford and members of the committee. My name is Alicia Hosey. I live in Columbia. I'm also here in support of SB1263, Colton's Law. It's named after Annie's son, but my family has been affected as well. My son was diagnosed at 7 after abrupt tics. We've also dealt with neuropsychiatric symptoms that derailed our lives many times over the years. We found a pattern. These flares were triggered by infections. My son was one of the lucky ones. He has received treatments and is stable today. But pandas can be, for most, it's a relapsing condition. The fear of potentially watching him suffer again while being denied the very treatment we know already works is a weight no Missouri parent should carry. Currently, it's not a covered condition, which leads to higher long-term state costs, preventable ER visits, disabilities, and even loss of life. The strain on Missouri children and their families for me is almost unspeakable. We need treatment and support like what is already available in other states. In Missouri, Colton's law would standardize this care across all plans and truly give families like mine hope and local providers a means to help them. The cost of providing this coverage is pennies per member per month, but the cost of not providing it is staggering and definitely not only monetary. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I urge you to vote yes on Colton's law to ensure that no other families have to fight the system while fighting for their health. And thank you so much for Senator Rick Brattin for introducing this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up in favor.
My name is Kate Winker. My husband and I are raising our 4 boys in St. Louis, and I'm here today to speak about our youngest son, Max. Max is 13. He's funny, curious, and wise beyond his years. But when he was 6, after repeated strep infections, his behavior changed overnight. He began having severe neuropsychiatric episodes, raging meltdowns, aggression, and intense emotional distress. I was called to his school almost daily. Classrooms were evacuated. He would be sobbing, hiding under furniture, completely overwhelmed. This became our life at home too. Doctors recommended IVIG, a medically necessary treatment, but our insurance denied it. We appealed and they denied again. Even after a peer-to-peer review, it was still denied. During the same time, another one of our sons was diagnosed with a brain tumor. His care was approved immediately. No denials, no appeals. As terrifying as that was, we didn't have to fight, but with Max, we do. This went on for years while our son suffered. He missed entire school years. Our family lived in constant crisis. Last Easter, during a severe flare, Max tried to take his life. I found him with a zip tie around his neck. He survived, but barely, and he required inpatient hospitalization. Eventually, IVIG was approved, and it changed everything. Today, Max is back in school. He's stable, learning, and he was recently named Student of the Month. This treatment gave us our son back, but coverage was taken away once before, and it could happen again. I'm asking you to pass this bill to require insurance coverage for medically necessary PANS treatments, so families like mine don't have to fight while their child is suffering. This illness already takes so much from these kids. Access to treatment should not be one of those things. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, next up in favor. How many more in favor do we have? Okay.
Hi, my name is Bradley David. Before PANDAS, my 5-year-old son Porter was an easygoing, social, happy child. He was regulated, playful, and thriving. This autoimmune disorder stole that from him and our family. After a strep infection and mycoplasma pneumonia, everything suddenly changed. He developed behavioral, emotional, and physical symptoms that were extreme and unlike him. He often speaks of death, monsters, developed facial and vocal tics, OCD, separation anxiety. He cannot control his body or emotions. He has sensory issues, rage, eating restrictions, and no appetite, frequent urination, and more. One of the hardest parts of this is waking up and waiting to see what version of my son I am going to get that day. Is he at baseline finally, or is he still at fight with his body and brain? This thought keeps me up throughout the night. There were mornings where he would wake up and not even be able to walk, mornings where he would instantly start screaming and flailing his body in fight or flight. We have had to piece together care ourselves, finding the right specialists, therapy, and supplements, all being paid for out of pocket. We have spent over $7,000 the past several months dipping into our savings and retirement. With this medical care, we have seen great improvement. These things should be covered by insurance because they are medically necessary for his recovery. Insurance companies refusing to recognize this leaves many families without support, financially, emotionally, and medically. This care is not optional. Early treatment is imperative for these children to heal so they will not have a life of suffering. I am asking for recognition that PANS and PANDAS is a legitimate medical condition requiring coverage so children like my son can access the care they need to heal. No parent should have to fight this hard to get the medical care their child needs to heal. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up in favor.
I am Christina Corso. You've heard the same story. For us, our child actually got diagnosed from a teacher seeing a TikTok video. We went through many doctors telling us he had migraines. Sorry, this is why my husband was gonna do it. He was just not himself. He wasn't the same kid. I can go through the spiel. But for us, we got early coverage. We got early diagnosis, and he recovered much faster than all these stories of these kids that I had to go through. So it breaks my heart for them that they have to struggle so hard that we didn't have to. He still has symptoms, but nothing like what it was. So we just really appreciate you listening to us and urge you to please pass this bill for these kids.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions? Seeing none, next up in favor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. My name is Arne C. A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate. I submitted my form online on the Senate portal. Wow, my heart breaks listening to this testimony. And there's probably a lot more Missourians that are crying out. Senate Bill 1263, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm in full support. Insurance companies need to stop being greedy. Insurance companies, hear me out loud and clear. Learn to be human, learn to be compassionate, and learn to care. It's not about numbers and profits, but it's about these families who are facing bankruptcy, trying to keep their children alive. Missouri families come first over special interest and Missouri corporations. That should be the bottom line here. No one should go without health care or medical treatment. The fiscal note is clear. The effect on the general fund is $600 on a $50 million budget. Federal funds will account for $53,275, and other funds will account for $37,120. It's a mere minuscule of the $50 billion budget that we have in Missouri that these families are asking for some form of relief. And to make healthcare companies and insurance companies do what they're supposed to do, and we shouldn't even be here in the first place. I ask that you pass this and get it to the governor's desk. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else in favor? Seeing none, anyone here to testify in opposition?
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Hampton Williams with the Missouri Insurance Coalition. I appreciate Senator Brattin bringing this issue forward, and it's been informative to listen to the testimony today from the advocates who are requesting this issue be covered. I will submit an article from the American Academy of Pediatrics that was published last year, and to me it appears that there is some disagreement on what proper treatments are or should be authorized for this diagnosis. The article details and acknowledges that at the point in time where we're at with PANS, that more research is necessary to affirmatively identify how to diagnose the issue, and then what are effective treatments. This legislation acknowledges that point on paragraph 15, page 19. It identifies that the treatments that would be authorized would have to be determined by a board, which is not defined. And I think, again, that's an acknowledgement at this point in time that this diagnosis and the treatments that would be available to treat these symptoms, that there's not really a medical consensus on those. So that, I believe, is where a stumbling block is. This disease has not been identified in the DSM or International Classification of Diseases. It has been available for several years. PANDAS, I believe, has been, at least in medical literature, for over 20 years. PANS is more recent, but again, this is an evolving field. We heard a similar bill earlier this year regarding Lyme disease. It's SB1870, where there was a presentation, and we heard similar testimony, which was that the medical field is having difficulty identifying what the symptoms are, and then that there is kind of a new development in what the treatments or what available treatments are in this field. For the insurance providers, it's difficult to identify what should or should not be covered when there's not clear identification from the medical community as to what are appropriate treatments. And what we are not able to do when you're designing a plan under the ACA is design a plan that says, well, we'll cover a price cap. Whatever this is, we'll cover it up to $100,000, and there's at least some barrier there. We can't design products like that. There actually has to be an identified treatment, and so that is the issue, like globally, on dealing with how to design insurance coverage for these kind of emerging concerns. So I look forward to working with Senator Brattin's office. Glad to speak with some of the advocates to get information about the 15 states that have implemented this type of coverage, and look forward to, again, proceeding.
Questions for the witness. Senator Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad you brought up Lyme disease because I know we've had a treatment and actually a vaccine for Lyme disease in dogs and cats since at least the late 80s, if not early 90s, but that's not really my question, other than the fact that this is another example of how we treat our pets better than we do humans a lot of times in medicine. But the research that you're referring to, are these like physicians that are still practicing or retired?
Yeah, no, this is the study from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and this is a board of directors publication titled Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric syndrome clinical reports. And so,
well, my question is, though, are these physicians that are writing these reports basically for you guys, are they still practicing or are they retired? Do you know?
This is not any industry organization. This is a medical group. I researched this article after this issue was posted just to try to educate myself a little bit. And what the article is clear, this does identify treatments that are available. It identifies treatments that should not be pursued, but it really articulates kind of the newness of the issue and why what it really advocates for is additional research needing to be done to identify what effective treatments are need to be adopted at a larger
scale. It
scale.
sounds like the treatment regime is basically antibiotics, and I'm a little confused on why there's such a this is not more of a push to. I mean, it's antibiotics. I mean, how expensive can that really be? You know.
Well, again, the treatments that are prescribed under this statute would not be limited to antibiotics. There would be a kind of a broader set of treatments that are being advocated for.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in opposition.
Madam Chair, Shannon Cooper with America's Health Insurance Plans. I'll be brief today and compliment the supporters of the legislation. They did a great job, and I sometimes seem callous when we come up here and oppose these issues, but I would say that education is what we need. I think one of the witnesses testified that Aetna has recently started covering this disease, and that's how these things work right now. 70+% of our plans are employer-based and sponsored. As more employers learn about what their employees want and these diseases, if that's what they choose to cover, they have the right to do that. We can make plan designs that will pay for these treatments if the push is out there by the employer. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up in opposition. Seeing none, anyone here for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator Brattin, any final comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I could not do any better than the testimony we heard in support, and I just hope the committee will look to move forward with this piece of legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. This will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 1263, and we are adjourned. Isn't that crazy.
I know, and I'm like,
It wears.
but I'm also exhausted.